What if your worst nightmare turns out to be true, and the person you trusted is hiding a secret that could destroy your family forever? Emily, a young woman with warm brown eyes that always sparkled with tenderness and a soft smile that melted hearts, had always considered her family perfect. Her husband James, a tall, broad-shouldered man with thick dark hair that curled slightly at the temples and a calm, low voice, was her true pillar in life. Together, they raised 5-year-old Oliver, a restless boy with a curly forelock that constantly fell over his forehead and curious blue eyes, who loved chasing a ball in the yard of their home in a quiet Seattle suburb, where the streets were lined with tall pines. Their life in a cozy 2-story house with white walls, large windows through which morning sunlight poured, and a small rose garden was filled with warmth. Morning breakfasts scented with fresh maple syrup on pancakes, children's laughter ringing like bells, evening conversations about the future, where they planned a mountain vacation to ski in winter. Emily, dressed in her favorite blue dress that accentuated her slender figure, often stood at the stove, preparing James's favorite turkey sandwiches with fresh salad, and he, joking, would hug her waist, calling her "my queen" and kissing her neck, making her blush like a schoolgirl. But lately, something had changed, as if an invisible shadow had fallen over their happiness, cold like Seattle's autumn rain. Emily began to notice how James stayed late after work in his downtown office, how his phone sometimes vibrated with messages late at night, to which he responded briefly, turning toward the window as if hiding the screen. And then there was Kaitlyn, the neighbor from the house across the street where blooming hydrangea bushes grew. This young woman with long blonde hair cascading in waves over her shoulders, bright red lipstick that made her smile even more alluring, and a confident, graceful gait seemed too perfect to Emily, like from the cover of a glossy magazine. Kaitlyn dressed stylishly, short dresses that hugged her figure, high heels that clicked on the asphalt as if deliberately drawing attention. She had been divorced for a year and was raising her son Ethan alone, a 5-year-old mischief maker just like Oliver, with playful eyes and a love for adventure. Because of the children, the families often interacted. Sometimes Emily picked Ethan up from school in the area. Sometimes Kaitlyn watched Oliver when Emily ran to the store. But Emily noticed how Kaitlyn talked to James for too long, how her hand accidentally touched his shoulder during conversation, how she laughed at his jokes, tilting her head to the side. "She wants to take my husband," Emily whispered to herself, standing by the kitchen window and clutching a dishcloth, watching Kaitlyn play with the kids on the lawn, her laughter ringing out brightly as if taunting. One night, Emily was awakened by a nightmare. She saw James and Kaitlyn standing in the backyard under moonlight, embracing, their laughter echoing in the darkness, mingling with the rustle of leaves. Waking up in a cold sweat, her heart pounding like a drum, she couldn't fall back asleep, tossing in bed. This isn't just a dream, it's a warning, she thought, and decided to visit Madame Clara, a 60-year-old woman known for her wisdom and ability to see the hidden. Madame Clara lived in an old wooden house on the outskirts of Tacoma, surrounded by dense forest where trees whispered the wind's secrets. Her hair, with strands of gray, adding mystery, was neatly pulled into a bun, and her white linen blouse with subtle embroidered patterns gave her the air of a mystical oracle. She sat at a wooden table cluttered with flickering candles, bundles of dried herbs smelling of lavender and sage, and old books with worn covers, while the window offered a view of the dark forest where fog swirled between the trunks. The house smelled of incense and fresh wood, and old photographs on the walls depicting enigmatic figures created a mysterious atmosphere, as if time had stopped there. "Tell me, dear, what's troubling you?" said Madame Clara, lighting another candle whose flame danced in her eyes. Emily sat across from her, her hands trembling, and poured out her soul, about the visions, about Kaitlyn, about how her heart clenched with jealousy, like in a vice. "She's younger, prettier, and I see how she looks at James like he's her property," she exclaimed, holding back tears rolling down her cheeks. Madame Clara listened attentively, her eyes gleaming with wisdom, reflecting the candle flames. "Your fears speak for you," she said calmly, fingering the dried herbs. "They cloud your mind like clouds over the sun. Close your doors to outsiders for a week. Let no one in. Then you'll see who your enemy is, and the truth will come to light. Emily returned home with determination, her thoughts swirling. But that evening, James announced, "My colleagues from work are coming tonight. I invited them for a barbecue in the garden." Emily felt her plan crumbling like a house of cards. How can I not let them in? They're friends, she thought, setting plates on the terrace where the smell of grilled meat wafted. The guests laughed, drank beer, told jokes, and Emily felt like a stranger in her own home, her smile forced. When everyone left, leaving empty bottles behind, Kaitlyn appeared at the door. "The door was open. I thought I'd stop by, maybe help with the dishes," she said, smiling sweetly as if nothing had happened. Emily barely contained her anger, her cheeks flushing. "Don't you have your own business? Or did you come for my husband? We're not friends, so don't come again." Kaitlyn just shrugged and left, her heels clicking down the path, leaving Emily in turmoil and loneliness. That evening, with Oliver already asleep, she tried to talk to James. "Maybe we should move to another part of Seattle? The schools here aren't the best, and I feel uncomfortable, like the walls are closing in," she said, straightening the tablecloth, her voice trembling. James, tired from work, responded sharply, his brows furrowing. "I'm the only one working, Emily. Where would we get money for a new house? Or maybe you like the neighbors. That's why you don't want to leave." His words struck like a knife to the heart. Emily went to the bedroom so as not to cry in front of him, lay in bed, and stared at the ceiling where shadows from the streetlight danced. She looked at sleeping Oliver, his breathing steady, and thought, "I won't let our family be destroyed, even if I have to fight shadows." But doubts wouldn't let go, gnawing from within like an invisible worm, and she knew this was just the beginning of the battle for the truth hidden behind the facade of happy life, which sooner or later had to come to light to save everything dear to her. The next morning in Seattle, the sky was gray, overcast with clouds reflecting Emily's inner chaos, as if the sky were crying with her. She woke early to make James breakfast, fried eggs with crispy bacon and fresh tomato, which he loved so much, her hands moving mechanically. But his side of the bed was empty, sheets rumpled as if he left in a hurry. He went to work early, she thought, but anxiety gripped her heart like a vice, making breathing difficult. Emily, throwing an old gray jacket over her home clothes, took Oliver by his small warm hand and went to the supermarket in the center of the neighborhood, where streets were filled with morning pedestrians. The boy pulled her toward the shelf with bright chocolates, his eyes shining, but suddenly she stopped, hearing a familiar voice from the parking lot. On the steps by the building stood Kaitlyn, her blonde hair glistening under the dim streetlight, in a short red dress hugging her figure, accentuating every curve. She laughed brightly, thanking James. "I couldn't have managed without you." The neighbor's pipe leaked all night. "You're a real hero, my savior." Her hand lightly touched his shoulder, lingering a moment longer than necessary. Emily hid around the corner of the building, tears burning her eyes like fire, her heart racing wildly. "He's communicating with her behind my back, as if I don't exist," she thought, feeling anger mixed with pain like poison in her blood. Back home, where the scent of fresh coffee lingered, Emily called her friend Sophia, a tall, energetic woman with short chestnut hair, framing a sharp face in a penetrating gaze that seemed to pierce the soul. Sophia had known James since they worked together at a marketing company in noisy downtown Seattle, where office buildings rose to the sky. She was always direct, unafraid to speak the truth, cutting like a knife. "Can you imagine, he reproaches me for not working, hints that I'm a burden, and this Kaitlyn is always hovering around him like a spider in a web." Emily poured out her heart, sitting in the kitchen with a cup of hot coffee, her voice trembling with emotion. Sophia was outraged, her eyes flashing. "She's clearly turning him against you, weaving intrigues." We need to act decisively. Maybe talk to her openly, face to face. I'll go with you if you're scared." But Emily, clenching her fists so hard her nails dug into her palms, decided to handle it herself, her resolve like steel. She knocked on Kaitlyn's door, her heart pounding like a war drum. "What's going on with you and my husband? Tell the truth. Don't hide behind smiles," she exclaimed, standing on the threshold. Kaitlyn, leaning against the doorframe, smiled coldly. "Yes, I'm sleeping with him, and my son is his." Satisfied now? Emily felt the ground slip from under her feet, the room spinning like in a whirlwind. She returned home, not remembering how she got there, her legs buckling. James was on a business trip in Portland, attending client meetings, so talking was impossible. Her calls went unanswered. Emily drove to Madame Clara again. The road to Tacoma was long, autumn leaves rustling under the car wheels like whispering warnings. In the house, Madame Clara sat at the table, cluttered with flickering candles, bundles of dried herbs, and old books, her white linen blouse glowing in the dim light, while outside the window the forest swirled with fog. Kaitlyn confessed that her son is James's. "Is it true?" Emily blurted out, sitting across from her, her voice nearly breaking. Madame Clara calmed her, fingering the herbs. "It's a lie, dear, to enrage you and destroy your confidence. The child isn't his. Take this charm, place it under the doormat by the door. It will ward off bad people, and peace will return." Emily went home and did as Madame Clara said, her hands trembling as she hid the bundle. Strangely, the house grew calmer. James stopped arguing, hugged her tenderly again, kissed her temple, and Oliver was thrilled when Dad played soccer with him on the lawn. But one sunny day, Emily saw James buying milk for Kaitlyn at the nearby store. "Her son is sick. I just helped, nothing more," he explained indifferently, but his eyes avoided hers. Jealousy flared anew, like a fire in dry forest. Sophia, sipping coffee in a cozy cafe in downtown Seattle, advised, "Do a DNA test to be sure once and for all. It's the only way to dispel doubts." Emily devised a cunning plan. She invited Ethan to play with Oliver in the garden, and playing doctors with a toy stethoscope, took DNA samples from both boys, her heart pounding like a criminal's. "Now I'll know the truth, even if it hurts," she thought, submitting the samples to a lab. But the secret unraveled quickly. Kaitlyn learned from Ethan and came in fury, pounding on the door. "You took DNA from my son?" she shouted. James, returning home, was shocked. "You did a paternity test?" "With my toothbrush?" The results arrived by mail. Kaitlyn's son was not James's, but James, without a word, packed his things and left, leaving Emily in tears, her world crumbling. But she felt the truth was still ahead, ready to reveal itself in an unexpected moment. Shocked by the test results that confirmed James's innocence, but pained by his departure, Emily sat at the kitchen table, clutching the DNA report letter in her hands, trembling like leaves in the wind. Her brown eyes, usually warm and full of hope, were filled with tears rolling down her cheeks, leaving salty trails. The letter from the Seattle lab lay before her like a verdict that upended her life. Kaitlyn's son, little Ethan with his playful eyes, was not James's biological child. But this revelation came too late. James, her husband with thick dark hair and a habit of joking about her culinary experiments, had left home after the argument, his footsteps echoing loudly in the hallway as he went. Emily blamed herself for letting jealousy cloud her judgment, as Madame Clara had warned that Kaitlyn lied to enrage her. The apartment, once filled with 5-year-old Oliver's laughter and the aroma of home-cooked food, now seemed empty and cold, as if all warmth had evaporated. Oliver, with his curly forelock falling over his forehead, played in his room with toy cars, unaware of the storm in his mother's heart, his laughter a dissonant note in the silence. Emily stared at the family photo on the wall. They with James and Oliver on a picnic by Lake Washington, sunlight illuminating their happy faces, wind playing in their hair. "How could I believe that lie?" she whispered, feeling her heart clench with pain and guilt. Unable to contain the anger boiling inside, Emily threw on her coat and ran to Kaitlyn's across the street, where blooming bushes swayed in the wind. The neighbor, as always, looked impeccable. Her blonde hair cascaded in waves over her shoulders, and red lipstick accentuated her confident smile, as if she knew all the world's secrets. She opened the door holding a cup of hot coffee, its aroma spreading in the cool air. "You've achieved your goal!" "James left because of your lie," Emily exclaimed, her voice trembling with indignation and pain. Kaitlyn, instead of justifying herself, calmly set the cup on the table and replied, "Emily, you're wrong about everything. It wasn't me chasing your husband. It was your friend Sophia weaving intrigues for years." Emily froze as if struck. Sophia, her closest friend, with whom she shared secrets, laughed at shared jokes. Sophia, tall with short chestnut hair, framing a sharp face and a sharp tongue, who always seemed sincere and supportive. "She came to our house when you weren't home," Kaitlyn continued, her voice softening, almost compassionate. "Always found an excuse. Either accidentally got movie tickets or asked James to help with the computer or a shelf. I saw how she looked at him, with loving eyes full of hidden desire." Kaitlyn's words struck like lightning in a clear sky, illuminating everything in a new light. Emily recalled how Sophia had lately avoided their house, refused to visit, citing busyness or headaches, her excuses sounding false like a poorly rehearsed script. Probably because of Madame Clara's charm that wards off evil, she thought, feeling the puzzle pieces fall into place in her mind. Wasting no time, Emily rushed to Sophia's, who lived in a modern apartment in downtown Seattle with panoramic windows overlooking skyscrapers glistening in the twilight. Sophia opened the door, dressed in an elegant gray sweater, but her face shifted from surprise to anxiety upon seeing Emily. "What are you doing here so late?" she asked, trying to sound calm, but her voice betrayed her, trembling like a string. Emily couldn't hold back. Her words flew like arrows. "Is it true you're in love with James and used me to get closer to him?" And then, unexpectedly, James himself appeared in the hallway, his broad shoulders filling the space, his face bewildered as if caught red-handed. "Emily, I came so Sophia could calm you down. Explain about Kaitlyn," he said, his voice confused. But Sophia, sighing heavily, lowered her gaze to the floor and confessed, "Yes, I loved him from the first day we worked together in the office in downtown Seattle. But you appeared, and he chose you, leaving me in the shadows, suffering. I befriended you to be near him, to see his smile, hear his voice. You didn't see how I tormented myself when you got married." Her words were full of pain, but also anger, like a volcano erupting after years of silence. Emily felt the ground slip from under her feet, the room spinning like in a nightmare. "You betrayed me, my trust," she shouted, her voice breaking into a scream echoing in the apartment. James, standing between the two women, tried to explain, his hands trembling as he reached out to Emily. "I didn't know about her feelings, I swear. I came here because you were hysterical about Kaitlyn. I wanted Sophia to talk to you, calm you." But Emily couldn't believe it. Her heart was tearing apart. She ran out of the apartment, the cold Seattle evening wind slapping her face like punishment for blind trust. Back home, where the remnants of dinner lingered in the air, she sat on the couch hugging Oliver, who snuggled against her in sleep, clutching a toy car, his breathing steady and soothing. "Mommy, when will Daddy come back?" he asked sleepily, his voice a quiet whisper. Emily didn't know what to say, her eyes filled with tears again. She decided to visit Madame Clara once more, seeking answers. The road to Tacoma was dark, headlights cutting silhouettes of trees from the night. In the old wooden house, it smelled of herbs and wax, and Madame Clara, sitting in a rocking chair at the table, cluttered with flickering candles, bundles of dried herbs, and old books, listened to her. Her white linen blouse glowed in the flame, and outside the window the forest swirled with fog, as if hiding secrets. "Dear, your fears clouded the truth," she said, her voice calm like a lake. "Kaitlyn isn't the enemy. She lied to anger you, and Sophia hid her intentions for years. But James loves you, his heart is with you, and the DNA test confirmed it." She handed Emily a small herb doll smelling of mint and lavender. "Place this in the kitchen where you cook for the family. And don't let other women rule there, for they can steal your happiness like thieves in the night." Emily returned home and did everything as Madame Claire advised, her movements slow but determined. A few days later, James returned, standing at the door with a bouquet of daisies, her favorite flowers, smelling of freshness and summer. "Emily, I never cheated on you. Kaitlyn helped with repairs, but there was nothing between us. Her lie about Ethan was just revenge for your accusations. And Sophia, I didn't see her intentions. Forgive me," he said, his voice trembling with emotion, his eyes pleading. Emily looked into his eyes and saw sincerity, like the sun breaking through clouds after a long storm. They embraced, and tears flowed from both, mixing with relief like rain after drought. A few months later, they had a daughter, Abigail, a little girl with the same brown eyes as Emily, her cry ringing like new hope for the family. Kaitlyn, who turned out to be a true friend after all the misunderstandings, became Abigail's godmother, apologizing for her confession about the son, explaining she only wanted to anger Emily due to the constant suspicions. Emily no longer allows outsiders to rule her kitchen, where the scent of freshly baked cookies and warmth now reigns. She remembered Madame Clara's words, "Other women washing your dishes can steal family happiness like thieves in the dark." Their family became strong again, like an oak enduring storms, and Oliver joyfully played with his newborn sister on the lawn by the house, his laughter ringing like music. The story taught Emily to trust her heart, but not ignore the signs whispering truth, and to distinguish true friends from those hiding betrayal behind smiles. And Sophia disappeared from the city, but sometimes I see her car near our house.